Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl, Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey. Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets. Karl, Bryan coming at you. Continuing my expert series where we interview clients who are killing it with us. And I have got a special treat for you guys, which I think I have a special treat every week, but I definitely have a special treat this week as we have somebody very, very talented and incredibly experienced with us. And on that note, why don't I go about introducing him so we can get straight into it. He's been a CPA for over 30 years. He's an author of 4 international best-selling books. He loves educating people on doing joint ventures with accountants, doing deals with accountants, and effectively joint ventures. And by the way, he's also a boutique pizza chef. And I can also tell you, he's also a very talented pianist, because our very first business coaching mastery in Cancun, we brought out the piano and he was playing Benny. We played, I don't know, copious amounts of songs because he can play them all, but Benny and the Jets came out pretty much every night. And then we got to rent every time Pete and I get together, he's got to rent a piano in some way, shape, or form so we can get a crowd around and we can listen to him sing and play the piano. So with that said, he moonlights as an accountant and a superstar business consultant, but he is also a pianist on steroids. So, Pete Lawson, without further ado, how are you, my friend?
Karlski, I'm great. And thank you for getting me up at this beautiful hour of the morning. It's 5 a.m. in Sydney, Australia, where I am at the moment. But look, always great to be here, Karl. Great to hear your voice. Always having plenty of fun.
You beauty. We appreciate you, buddy. And I know it's pretty early, man. We had you up at 4:30 this morning. So you got a coffee? You ready to rock?
Yeah. All good.
Beauty. Okay, so look, let's get straight into it. So the quickest way, so somebody is listening, and I kind of want to talk to you, like 5 to 10 years ago and kind of the advice that you'd be giving, but what's the quickest way for somebody to grow their coaching business straight out of the blocks? What would Pete Lawson answer to that?
It's just got to be joint ventures, Karl.
Nice.
Yep, simple as that.
Yeah. So go deeper for me. What about joint ventures? I know specifically, talk to me. Go deeper.
I know. I'm the numbers guy. I'm the accountant guy. But there's joint ventures sitting out there everywhere. They're sitting in front of your face, and it's blatantly obvious that you don't see all the time. But anybody, for business coaches, of course, anybody that has a business of some sort with customers that have their own businesses is a potential joint venture partner. But specifically, have a think about accountants. I know every statistic on accountants and professional service firms, and I love my stats. But, with every accountant, any partner in an accounting firm generally represents 245 business owner clients. Now, you're knocking on one door, you've got 2 partners. You've got 490 clients sitting right under your nose, ready to go. So the beautiful thing is the accountant in the world of professions. I heard you talking to Keith before. Keith's a lawyer, but generally the accountant is deemed as the most, the most trusted advisor. So once you're talking in front of a group of people, in front of their trusted advisor, the barriers to entry immediately drop. Yeah. And you just see the posture in the room.
Nice. Okay. So what about, so you're going to get in front of an accountant and accountant's clients. Like, what do you feel like? What does that education look like?
Oh, okay. Well, look, if you want me to just keep talking, Karl, and not have a break, that's okay. I could talk till the cows come home about accountant joint ventures. The easiest thing to do is getting in front of just 10 of the accountant's clients, 8 to 10 of the accountant's clients each month in their boardroom. Get the coach to put the accountant to put on a few sandwiches or a breakfast or whatever, and you just really these days just a 20-25 minute presentation, just to let them know the sort of opportunities they have. No pitch, get in front of them. And the big thing I do these days is educating the accountant's clients on the importance of knowing their numbers in business. Now, as we all know, accountants are really not sales type people. They don't feel comfortable selling. It's just not their forte. The beautiful thing is you're in there doing a presentation, but at the same time saying to these people, well, emphasizing the importance of knowing your numbers in business and directing them back to the accountant to do more work with them. Karl, there's bringing out the statistics. USA Bureau of Statistics, Australian Bureau of Statistics, 50% of businesses go out of businesses in the first 5 years. But more alarming is 82% of those people went down via the numbers, running out of money, not knowing their numbers. So you get a bit passionate about niching. Accountants are my niche because that's where I live. But just think of the number of people out there that you could JV with. There's just plenty. But the accountants, once you get the clients in there, you've obviously got the opportunity to have a chat with them. And again, the resources that I use, I have checklists. I also have a form that I send out just with a bit of feedback on it, and asking for 3 possible referrals.
Yeah. And what about, so you're going to do a joint venture with an accountant? Is it like live? Like what is the ideal dynamic? Is it a live event for the accountant and his clients?
Live's best everywhere, Karl. Seriously.
Yeah.
And the other thing with accountants, bear in mind, they're sort of live people as well. They like to eyeball you. I call it belly to belly. The situation is once you have a live event, people see you in the flesh. That's really, in any situation, you've got to have at least 7 to 12 touch points with people. And that first touch point, presenting to them live, is absolutely the way to go. It's a funny thing, Karl. I talk to accountants. I say, look, let's just arrange for 10 of your clients to pop in. Here's some emails to send out. Let's get this happening. Here's a follow-up. Here's some follow-up forms to make sure we get butts on seats, so to speak. And the accountant will turn around and say, "Oh, gee, Pete, we put these events on, and the people don't come." Well, hang on. Is there anybody in the audience that really wants to go to an update on tax law, or accounting standards? And the situation that I say to accountants is, look, here's the situation. If you put on a lunch or a breakfast, particularly a lunch, there's nobody that I know in the entire world that doesn't want a free lunch off their accountant. So they will come. So, and again, you tell the accountant, just get on the phone, talk to 10 clients and say, love to come into this, having a little presentation, a bit of a chat around the table, bang. It's a chew the fat day. Everybody's involved.
I love it. Actually, and if anybody's wondering if this might work, Pete and I used to run an event for our clients, and it was basically how to form a joint venture with an accountant. And so much so that what we did is we guaranteed to close 2 JV relationships with accountants for all the participants. Just a little bit of an FYI, does it work? Absolutely does. Okay, so moving on, Pete, I see you as like a really results orientated guy. And of course you have many. How long have you been a client of Focus.com?
10 years. And how many months? September, 10 years and 3 months.
Nice. Okay, so I see you've got a lot of runs on the board, and I see you as a really results-orientated guy. Talk to me about business coaches getting results with their clients, with small business owners? Can you elaborate? How do you do it? How do you advise them to do it?
Absolutely. Look, it's absolutely essential, Karl. And in order to test results, you've got to test it against something. So when you're setting up with a client, the first thing you do is look at their business, look at the essential items that they must get right, and then create a key performance indicator, a KPI, for that particular task in their business. And of course, for a KPI to work, it needs a set of action items. So you attach a number of action items that are going to be the items that are the critical success factors for that KPI working. Now, once and look, I know I always get back to numbers, Karl, but look, numbers are black and white; they don't tell lies. And the beautiful thing is, who's the scorekeeper when it comes to numbers? Bang, correct. The accountant. You got it. Sorry, I should have let you answer that.
So hang on,
you know enough about that.
May I, Pete? Okay, I want to jump in and just make sure they understood what you just said, because you kind of you're working. I'm working with a chiropractor, and I am a business coach, and Dave is the chiropractor. And then I say, look, Dave, I need a scoreboard, right? I need to understand, what is X, what does revenue look like on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis, and then we got to be able to work out if we're moving in the right direction, right? And then, so what you do is you send Dave, the chiropractor, to who? To his accountant. And what does he say? Hey, my business coach says I need a scoreboard. Can you help me with putting together X? Give me P&Ls from the last 3 months, from the last 3 quarters. And then what do you think the accountant's going to say? Oh, wow, cool. And then that's going to give you a lead in to be able to build a relationship with Dave's accountant.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that's fundamentally what you just said, correct?
It is fundamentally what I've said, Karl, and you put that very well. As a matter of fact, we've got to have a chat with you. I think we need to get back doing these webinars with coaches again, because we had a lot of fun, and there's been a lot of changes since we've done the last lot. But essentially, yes. Look, again, it dovetails back to this joint venture with accountants. The first thing you do with any client you have is go and meet their accountant.
Yep.
And the accountant's actually going to love you, because I do have a little process that you can do as a coach. It's not a difficult process, but basically what that process does, it puts you in front of the accountant talking a little bit of their language. And it's all to do with prices and things like that. And basically what you're saying with the accountant there is that, we need to put our prices up. And the accountant is basically sitting there saying, hallelujah, somebody else is telling the client that they've got to put their prices up, because the accountant, again, is looking at the numbers. And the number they look at there is a gross profit ratio. I won't go into too much detail here, but these are the little things you do to get an accountant to fall in love with you. And if you're telling the client, you must see your accountant, you must pay them more money, you must get at least quarterly financials, everybody's happy.
Yeah, I love it. And by the way, for anybody listening to, give us a room of 100 people, and we say, what's the language of business? 80 hands will go up for sales and marketing. And Pete, why don't you tell them what's the real language of business?
Numbers.
Yep. And
actually, you know what? You asked Warren Buffett what's the language of business, and he says accounting.
Accounting. Boom. Yeah. The end. And Warren Buffett, right? No doubt you know who Warren Buffett is, folks, but he would be probably him, Charlie Munger, maybe put Ray Dalio in the conversation, but the greatest entrepreneurs of our time. Warren Buffett is not just an insanely wealthy guy. He is an unbelievable businessman. So anyway, so when he says the language of business is accounting, you best listen. And that's just fact. Remember, if you went to a football game and there was no scoreboard, if you went to a cricket game and there's no scoreboard, you went to a hockey game, there's no scoreboard. I got to tell you, it'd be insanely boring and you're not coming back. You need a scoreboard, and those are financial statements. You get those from the accountant, and that's the magic that Pete's talking about. Okay, so with that said, let's keep moving. Okay, so that's kind of I don't know if that's high level stuff, but I want to go granular, and I want to go, what's the best, speak to somebody just starting out. What's the best way to start?
Well, I'll go back to when I started out, Karl. I
remember.
decided to become you do remember. I was
I did.
painful, wasn't I?
No, you were true to form as an analytical man. You wanted details, baby. You wanted details.
Yeah. Look, the situation is you've got to have tools. You've got to have a toolkit.
Yep.
I guess the other word to use is resources. You've got to have resources, and you've got to go through and look at those resources. Find the resources that suit your style. The beautiful part about Focused is they've got so many resources there. It'll fit anybody's style in some particular thing. But just grab the resources that suit your style, the ones that you resonate with. Get those resources, learn them, know them well. Because when you are presenting in front of people, you've got to be confident. You've got to just blast it out. You've got to be the person that's the so-called expert in the room. And then get from there, determine your niche market. I got to say, Karl, it took you about 4 years or something to convince me that my niche market is accountants. I kept saying to you, but Karl, they're boring. But you did spend a number of time doing it. But listen, people, this is so important. What you do is you determine your niche. And it's just like a running track. You're doing a 400-meter race. You've got to stay in your lane. When you get out of your lane, you get disqualified. And if you get out of your lane with your niche, you disqualify yourself from the game.
Nice.
Okay? So Karl always said to me, Pete, why do you keep walking away from numbers? Your superpower is accountants, it's numbers. And I tell you, you get into a conversation with me now, and I always bring it back to numbers.
Yeah. There we go. Only took a decade, Pete. Only took a decade, man.
Well,
that's actually not true. That's not. You got it a long time.
It isn't true, but I do recall coaching a young guy, Bryan, on reading numbers, and
that is.
You being in the motivational world and the marketing world, you kept trying to put colours on numbers. There's no colours on numbers. It's all black and white.
I remember that well, buddy. I remember that well. Oh my God, classic. Okay, so I just want to make sure again that everybody. Actually, let me tell you this. I remember you laughing at this one, Pete. But just look. If you are not an accountant, there is a chance that speaking to an accountant, I don't know that it's intimidating, but it just feels like a world that you're not a member of. But let me tell you this. This is this is good information. Everybody. So if you give me a room of 100 accountants and I say this, they will all laugh. And I remember Pete laughing at this. Everybody on the inside wants out. Everybody on the outside wants in. Right? You kind of get that. And I say that in that when you're speaking to an accountant, I want you to think like everybody on the outside or everybody on the inside wants out. The same way that if I do a stock deal, let's say that I've got I'm doing a stock deal and I have got a pharma play, right? Like a meta, I've got a new pill that's going to superpower. You're going to lose as soon as you put this thing near your lips, you lose 5 pounds. Okay. Do I go to the pharma world with that? And the answer is no. You go to oil and gas. Okay. Or these types, I would go to, if I had a pharma play, I would go to oil and gas. And then if I had an oil and gas play, guess where I would go? To the pharma crew. Okay. And it's just this weird dynamic in that I don't want you to feel like it's intimidating to talk to accountants, or that when you talk to an accountant, suddenly you got to be, able to talk, balance sheet, profit loss, income statements, etc., and balance sheets. Absolutely not the case. That being said, you'd be crazy not to be somewhat versed in it and have an understanding, but I just don't want you to be intimidated by it. You don't need to be Pete Lawson and have 30 years as a professional accountant in order to walk into an accountant's office and talk to them. Because again, believe me, they love the idea of getting outside of their own little world. So anyways, by the way, Pete, speak to that, or would you kind of follow me there?
Look, I'll speak to that. Karl's totally right, everybody. You don't need to be a pro from Dover. All you need, look, I'll explain it this way. You go to an overseas country and people say, oh, the French, they're very arrogant people. Well, they're not really. The whole thing is you go to another country and you refuse to speak their language or attempt to do so. They don't respect you. And here you are walking into an accountant's office, knowing a little bit about their language. You've virtually got the the translator in front of your face saying, bonjour, and they'll normally, and the French people will normally say, hey, don't worry, I can speak English, it's okay. But I really appreciate you respecting my language. This is the same thing with accountants. You go in there and you say, hey, I've just been talking to the client, the gross profit ratio is less than the benchmark, and the only thing I can say is we need to increase prices, and the accountant will virtually kiss you, because for the last 3 to 4 years, the accountant has been telling him the same thing.
Yeah. Actually, I really like that. And by the way, guys,
look, numbers aren't hard, guys. We have all you need to know is the basics. It takes you it takes you about an hour to learn this thing. It's no problems at all. But never be scared of numbers, because they don't lie and they won't bite you, and they are a factual thing.
But if you want to do what Pete just said on steroids, in that, again, the metaphor of speaking French to a Frenchman, and then they respect and they appreciate the fact that you're trying. When you send Dave, remember earlier I sent Dave, the chiropractor, in to see his accountant because I needed a scoreboard. You do that, and you are going to have a highway to the accountant's heart, because he's like, gosh, finally somebody that gets it. Good. I love it, Pete. I love it. So talk to a coach. Like, one of the things I remember you saying to me, I can't remember quite how you worded it, but like, how can you make sure that I'm going to be successful as a business coach? Because again, Pete, you've been at this a long time, like over a decade. Yeah. And by the way, before you answer this, I want to tell everybody this one. This is a classic, and this sums you up so well. Early on, when we were laughing earlier about, I remember Pete when he first got going, we ran this training, and I can't remember what we called it, but it had a pretty impressive name, something like, finding $50,000 for your coaching client in the first week of working with them. But anyways, Pete did the training, and there's about 100, there's a lot, like 100 people in the training. And we put together a competition, and the winner won a mini iPad. And that's when a mini iPad was like a big deal, right? It was like 10 years ago, and it was like, oh, wow, a mini iPad. Everybody was so excited about it. Anyways, and guess who won the mini iPad? And I'll tell you that it was the person that nobody expected, the accountant in the room, the one that, self-confessed, said, I'm not exactly a sales guy, but I am dangerous with numbers and a spreadsheet and a P&L. And anyway, so that was Pete 101. So that being said, Pete, you've mentored a lot of business coaches over the years and done it really successfully. How can you make a business coach listening more successful, or make them feel like you got a highway as opposed to a dirt road towards success? Did I ask that well?
Yeah. Well, practice what you preach. What you need to do, why a lot of people don't succeed, is because they don't put a plan in place. Yeah. Now, again, you've got to get back to your resources. Your resources are going to tell you your roadmap. But you've got to prepare a business plan. And of course, with that, you've got to have a mission, vision, and your value statements. They're most important. You've got to aspire to those. Karl, my vision is to educate the world on the importance of knowing your numbers in business. That's simple.
Yeah.
So again, with that business plan, you've got to set yourself some goals. And when we talk about goals, have a crack at some big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm reading a book at the moment by Dan Sullivan called 10x is easier than 2x.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. If you're, and you've always taught me this too, Karl, by the way, shoot for the stars. If you're aspiring for 10x, you won't just get 2x, you'll get at least 5x, 5 times. So set yourself your 3-year goals and 5-year goals. I prefer 3, but we're talking about a 5-year plan here today. But you chunk these goals down into quarters. And when you look at 3 years, it's 12 quarters. Set big goals. And forget about what you haven't achieved. Look at what you have achieved. Another book by Dan Sullivan, The Gap and the Gain. Prepare a budget. Always prepare a budget. See how much money that you're going to need before you actually start earning revenue. Allow 6 months. I might not earn revenue for 6 months. Let's be realistic. But during that 6-month period, pay yourself a wage so that you can put food on the table, etc. Once you work out what you're going to need for your business, you then deposit that money. It's called working capital. Put that into a business account and act like a business person. Now, to put that budget together, I'm going to suggest something to you. Go to your accountant. Seek professional advice. As I said before, of the 50% of businesses that go broke in the first 5 years, 82% of those businesses failed by the numbers. They didn't prepare a budget. They didn't look for growth, etc., etc. And if you are growing a business, bear in mind that costs you money as well. So learn about money management, and that's important. Where to allocate your money when you receive it. You've got to put some money aside for tax. You've got to put some money aside for your living. You've got to put some money aside for taking your wife or your family out for dinner on the odd occasion. So look, that's the thing. That's where most businesses come apart, including coaches, because they think they're going to start earning money tomorrow. That ain't going to happen in reality. You're going to have a big, steep learning curve. You've got to go and talk to a lot of people. But you know what, guys? I'll tell you one thing, and you might want to write this down. You'll never go broke helping people.
Nice. I like that. Coolio. I will say, and that is exactly the same way that you run out of, the same way that you get knocked out of Monopoly is the same way you get knocked out of business, right? You run out of cash. Businesses do not run out of ideas. They don't run out of they don't run out of potential. They don't run out of, awesome things that they could potentially do or awesome people they could potentially hire. You run out of cash and it's game over. Time to go to bed, just like in Monopoly, right? And actually, Pete, I want to talk to your when you go like 10x the goal. So here's like what we run a program, Local Legends. It's very popular for filling local live events. The results, frankly, have been absolutely off the wall. But one of the things, so just as an example, let's say that somebody was struggling to put 10 people in a room for their live event. Well, what you do is you 10x the goal, get 100 people for your event next week. Right, 10x the goal, and all of a sudden, guess what? You got to think at a higher level. You got to promote at a higher level. You got to communicate at a higher level. You need to be doing joint ventures instead of calling the chiropractor directly. You got to have like maybe it's a fancier venue, it's a fancier place, it's higher caliber individual you need to talk to. You know what I mean? But basically, if you're struggling to put 10 people in a room, make your goal to put 100 people in the room, and magically, guess what? I'd be amazed if you don't end up with 20, right? Just, you know what I mean? 2x what you were looking to accomplish. That,
I couldn't agree more.
What do you think? You like that?
I totally love it. As a matter of fact, you got to face, again, doing your numbers. You put an event on, you invite 100. 50 of those people, let's say 30 of those people register. There'll probably be likely 3 people turn up. But that's okay. You've done your numbers. And if instead of sending out 100 invites or whatever, or let's say 300 invites, why not send 1,000 out? Everybody gets scared about, oh, geez, if too many people come, we've got to knock them back. Well, isn't that a nice thing to be able to say to people? I'm sorry, we're full. But, because this event's been so popular, we're putting on an encore event. Would you like me to register you now?
Yeah, there we go.
Guys, what the whole thing is, what you're ever selling, and I'm not a salesperson, I'm an accountant, but the only thing you're ever selling is a meeting, ever. And the reason why you'll get the meeting is if your intention is to listen intently to that particular prospect and learn how you can help them. Now, we talk about joint ventures. It's also important to have a group of referrals. And, if you've got a client that's talking about a legal problem, okay, you can't help them as a coach, but you can send them somewhere where they can be helped. And that's your job.
Yeah, I love it. You started that off with a business plan. Yeah. And I tell you, it's so important. I think this is Dwight Eisenhower, but what he says is that the plan is useless but the planning is insanely valuable, right? Like a good, just think, what does Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until you punch him in the face, right?
Yep.
So I
Yep.
want you to think of, and that is absolutely true, but you know what is insanely valuable is the training. Okay, so what happens when Mike Tyson punches you in the face, like Buster Douglas to beat him? You see, it was his training that you lean on, and that's so. His plan has gone out the window, but it's the planning, it's the training that he can then lean on after his game plan's out the window. Same thing with your business. Is the business plan that you put down going to go to form? Absolutely not. I would be beyond amazed, right? But putting together the business plan, and the more effort you put in the business plan and contingency, game plan, and the stoicism that goes into it. Well, when this goes wrong, we'll do this. When this goes right, this is what's going to happen. Here's the second order consequence. Here's the third order consequence. Like, it's like when somebody buys the 80-inch TV. The problem isn't the TV. It's the fact that now you got to watch the damn TV, right? When you buy the boat, it's not the boat. It's not the 150 grand or whatever it costs you for the boat. It's that now that you bought the boat, you got to spend all this time in the boat. And the question is, the thing that bought you the boat is probably the thing that's not getting done when you're in the boat. And that's not to say that you shouldn't buy the boat and you shouldn't buy the 80-inch TV. That's not what I'm saying. I am not saying that, it's work to live, not live to work. But that being said, understanding the second, third, fourth order consequences of stuff like, the boat, you'd be, it's, what I mean? That's where the punch in the mouth can really, really hurt you. So Dwight Eisenhower, the plan is useless, but the planning insanely, and by the way, I'm messing up that quote, but insanely valuable. So I love that. That the accountant is talking to us about business plans, folks. There we go.
Well, the situation is, all the planning's all well and good, but what happens with majority of people that put plans in place, and you get these webinar junkies and what have you, they all suffer from this virus. I don't know whether you have this in America. It's worldwide. This virus is called, you might want to write it down, FTI.
What's that?
I'm going to write that down, everybody. FTI. You'll remember this forever. But all the plans, the best made plans in the world, are no good if you FTI. Failure to implement.
There you go. Nice. There we go.
Got to follow down what you do. And the situation is a business plan, a 3-year plan, 5-year plan, or whatever it might be. It's just like sending a man to the moon, a rocket to the moon, or whatever, or a lady to the moon, I should say as well. The situation is every moon mission is on track about 5% of the time, but they hit the target.
That's it. Same with the plane, right? LA to New York. It's constantly off. It's constantly pushing it back on, pushing it back on, pushing it back on, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so let's say somebody, Pete, gets out of the blocks, and now it's time to build their business. Like how do I build my business coaching business, Pete, after I've got out of the starting blocks? What would you say?
Okay, the first thing I'd say is never stop learning.
Nice. Continue
to read books. We're talking about reading books here. The classic is I'll be reading a book. I'll start reading a book. I'll get to 40% of that book, and then I start listening to the audio on it. Good. As a follow-up. I just read every day of the week. I'm reading something, generally a book, and you can't learn enough. You've got to keep going to webinars, seminars, live events. Live events are the best thing to go to. And we were also, denied live events for a couple of years during COVID. But the fact is, you've got to get out there. When you're attending live events, you generally tend to see the same people around a bit, and you get to know them. It's like networking without having to network, if you know what I mean. When you've got your niche market as well, how do you build your business? Well, say you've got a niche market in the automotive industry. Go to all the automotive events. Again, this vision thing is huge. People see your head around, and all of a sudden They walk into a live event and there you are speaking. They say, hang on, I know you from somewhere. They can't quite pick it, but they know they've seen you, and all of a sudden the barriers drop and they're listening. Create your referral group. As I mentioned, you've got to have your bunch of referrers. You know, your key people are your lawyers, your accountants, your bankers, even IT people. Get a bunch of people that help business owners. And when a business owner is talking to you and you're seeking to find out how you can help them, if you can't help them, somebody else in your group can. And they'll always bounce back. Now, let me tell you a little secret with referral groups. Karl might disagree with me here, but I say never. I very rarely say never. And people say you shouldn't say never, but never with a referral group want to have any money changing hands. The reason for your referral is that you trust in this person and you rely on them. Now, if you're deriving some sort of commission or something from that referral, well, it's your obligation to say to the client, hey, go to Frank over here. He's a great solicitor. And by the way, when you see Frank, you mention my name. And by the way, he pays me a 10% of anything you pay him. It's not independent, is it?
Yeah.
The other thing, everybody...
Can I help there? Just I want to make sure everybody understands that.
Yeah.
So we form, you are an accountant, I am a business coach. I send, you send me a lead. I'm not going to send you cash because frankly, accountants see that as a conflict of interest, right? They get freaked out by that. But at the end of the day, I'm not offering that. But what I do is I say, Pete, you send me the chiropractor who's currently coming in once a year, 3 months after the year is over. And what are they paying you? About $2,500, right? For that looking after and keeping you compliant with the government. Well, I say, Pete, here's what I'm going to do. You send me somebody, and remember, I need a scoreboard. And without a scoreboard, I can't keep score. And without keeping score, Warren Buffett says, I don't know the winners from the losers. Well, that doesn't make sense as a business coach. So here's what I'm going to do. You send me 3 people, and I will make sure that those 3 people come to see you at least 4 times a year throughout the year, potentially up to 10 to 12 times a year. And we will make sure that we have got scoreboards, as in financial statements, on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis that are way up to date, so that when tax season comes, that individual, Dave the chiropractor, won't be participating because his books will be tight and up to date throughout the year. And then, by the way, when you see a client, Dave the chiropractor, 4 to 10 times a year instead of once a year, guess what your fees do? They go from $2,500 to $5,000 to $10,000 to potentially $25,000 a year. And by the way, it's so worth it. It's scary. So worth it. But by the way, is that what that's what we're agreeing on, right? I keep my money, you keep yours, but I'm going to send my client in 4 to 10 times a year to make sure the books are tight, and you're going to charge them way more. Correct?
Well, exactly. But you see, the other thing is too, with your referral group, you have a nice bonding there. You should sit down with your referral group at least once a quarter and have lunch together. How are things going? It's amazing what you learn in amongst your group. But when you having lunch together, you probably don't even need to have those sort of conversations, Karl, because you all understand that, hey, I am on the lookout. Hey, by the way, I checked my referral bank account the other day, and I'm in debt to you for about 3 referrals. It's just a joke, but the whole thing is, and more importantly, you want to ensure that the people you refer people to will be doing the right thing. Most important. Look, getting those groups together. Honestly, this brings me back to accountants again, and the importance of joint ventures with accountants. The accountants already have their group. You get in with the accountant and you get in with their group. You've already got your referral group all set up for you. You don't have to go looking too far. I'm talking about, saving yourself some time. One door can get you so many places. One other thing I want to emphasize about building your coaching business, or any business for that matter, you've got to have people working with you and for you. Hire an assistant. Hire a virtual assistant if you have to. whatever you need to do, but you've got to have an assistant there, because wages are not an expense. They are an investment. Most important. And you've got to measure your progress. You've got to look at your numbers every week, every day. You've got to know things like, what's my break even point each day, each minute, each hour, each week, each month, whatever. If you know your break even, you know where you're heading all the time. And hire a coach. You know what? Coaches need coaches.
Yep.
And, you know, the beautiful thing I like about Focused, and for all the years that I've been there, Karl, is that we've always had a community.
Yeah.
And having a community, like you've developed Facebook pages and what have you. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke, but the fact is that there's always been an open door with everybody in that Focused community. And, you know, that's something that's very, very important.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, literally, you've been a client for, like I said, over a decade. But I mean, we have literally together done a presentation on how to form a joint venture with accountants that we did together. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You're part of the community, and then everybody's learning from you, and you're learning. And you know, we've done sales, and we've done marketing, we've done social media, etc. You're learning from them, they're learning from you. I'm learning from everybody. Hopefully, everybody's learning from me a little bit. And that's like agreed, my friend.
Community. I tell you what, look, I'm a bit of an IT Gumby, Karl, be quite honest. You know, when it gets all this fancy stuff that you're doing here and there, the number of people I've called out of our Focus community during the years, and they just drop tools. I just love it. You know, as a matter of fact, I do recall writing a book with you, young man, as well.
We did, buddy. We did. Business Accounting 101 for business coaches. Boom. And we did. And I mean, that joint ventures for accountants, that was years before the book. And then we wrote the book and planning another event on forming joint ventures with accountants. So that's it. Pete, I love it, man. I love it. It's been a pleasure. It's been 10 years, and I plan another 10 with you, bud. How's that sound?
Well, I'm certainly coming to Vegas next year. You just need to give me the dates, and I'm booking the tickets. That's a happening thing. So I'll be at the Focus conference next year, and you will be organising a piano, and my room will be next to yours, so that we can have that odd nightcap. And I'm looking forward to it. But you know, I also look forward to educating as many people as I can on the importance of numbers, and helping the coaching community to get a leg up with joint ventures, especially and specifically with accountants. I'm always here to help.
That is your superpower, my friend. That is your superpower. So, Pete, we appreciate you, buddy. Again, we missed you in Cancun this year, but we will not be missing you next year at Business Coaching Mastery. Really appreciate, again, you got up really early for this. I super duper duper appreciate it. Everybody listening, super duper.
Karl, all the things, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, mate. All the things you've done for me, mate, the least I can do is pop up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I don't mind an early start, but you know, hey, you know, this is all about getting back to our little referral bank, Karl. It's, you know, share the kindness, you know, big thing.
Pete, been a long time, man. And on behalf of the entire Focus.com community and Business Coaching Secrets community, how about? We love you, man. We appreciate you. We appreciate your magic, and we appreciate what you did today.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.